What's up, y'all? Good afternoon, everybody. I'm gonna go ahead and do a live real quick. Um, the topic, I put the topic up top in the description, but basically the topic is talking about, if you're struggling in your recovery, then it's probably because you stopped doing stuff that you did in the beginning of your recovery. And this holds true a lot. It holds true for me. I think it holds true for everybody. Nobody, I feel like nobody relapses on accident. You know what I mean? Nobody trips and falls in the liquor store. Nobody accidentally hits up the dope man or whatever the case may be. So I feel like, for the most part, you know, we don't, if we're starting to stray away from our program, odds are we're probably going to end up in some trouble. And it's going to be hard to, stay clean and sober if you're not doing the work. And anybody that knows me, I'm all about doing the work. So before I get rolling, I'm going to do a brief introduction. Anybody who hasn't seen my videos before, my name is Joseph. I'm from the Eastern Shore of Maryland. I just moved to Texas, so now I live in Houston. Um, and I always do the just for today. Sometimes I do different topics, but generally speaking, I do the just for today. And today's just for today is a pretty good one because I feel like, a lot of us go through this at one point in time. Um, I feel like this isn't something that's brand new. I feel like this isn't something that's foreign to anybody that's been in recovery. If you've been in recovery, I don't give a damn if it's 30 days or 30 years. Um, if you've gotten to a point where you've been struggling and you feel those old thoughts creeping back in, you probably stop working at your recovery. You probably stop um, taking part in your own program, and you started hitting that autopilot where you're just kind of coasting. And there was another little clip that I really liked, and it was talking about how we became experts of self deception and rationalization. So I really like that one because we lie to ourselves all the time. We tell ourselves, I can just have a drink, I can just have one. I got it under control now. I can handle it. It's been a while, um, and we lie to ourselves about the things that we're doing. We lie to ourselves about the strength of our program, even though we know we've been slacking. We lie to ourselves about all the things that we're doing. And the rationalization part I really like because, we always rationalize what we're doing. And it's part of that, I talk about anybody that knows, I talk about self awareness so much. And the reason why I talk about it is because when you're doing that rationalization bullshit, you're not being self aware. You're sitting there playing head games, um, trying to talk yourself out of your recovery program because you have doubts. And the doubts aren't that you can do it or not. Can I do it? Sure, you can do it. The doubts are, do you want to do it? I feel like that's where the doubt comes in. It's not so much that you feel like you can, it's just more so you feel like you don't want to. And that lay true with me for many, many years. Um, when I was about 19 or 20, I realized I had a serious problem. And here I am at 30, just now getting my shit straight. So it takes a long time for you to make that choice. But once you make that choice, if you're serious about the choice that you made, you can lead a long life in recovery. But a lot of us are scared to make that choice. And I feel like it's because the drugs and the alcohol has been a part of us for so long that we don't know what else to do with ourselves. I know for me, it had a lot to do with my life. It was part of my daily routine. I'm a routine guy. It was part of my social scene. It was part of my mind state. When I drank, I got into a mind state that I liked because um, it made me not hold myself accountable. It made me not feel bad or feel remorse for shit that I've done, and it made me more about action. It didn't. It took away my thought process. It took away my ration. My rationalization. Um, I'd be in a situation, and instead of me thinking about it and figuring out if this is a good idea or not, I wouldn't think at all. I would just do it. It made me impulsive. And as time went on, I started to like those impulses because they made my life more exciting. They made me feel good. Um, I just liked it. I liked the edginess of my lifestyle. And my cousin used to talk to me a lot. Um, he's kind of a straight edge guy, and we grew up together. We're more like brothers than cousins. But he used to tell me all the time. He was like, "Man, I don't think you're so much addicted to the alcohol. I think you're just addicted to your lifestyle." So, and when he said that, it like really set in with me. Trying to be hard, trying to be rough, trying to be a so-called thug or a roughneck, and it was all part of that lifestyle, and I liked it because it was exciting. It was what I knew. It was what was around me, um, and I just liked it. I liked not having to think twice about anything, and I always rationalized why I was living like that. I always told myself, well, I had a fucked up upbringing. Not to discredit my mother, she was a great woman, but she had her problems, with drugs later on in life. It took control. I think she started using when she was a kid. She got clean right around the time she had me, but then she's always been a back and forth. I mean, she has some strong clean time, but she's always just kind of been up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And when she was on our A game, our life was fantastic. You know what I mean? Like we did it all. We went on vacations, even though we lived middle lower class. We went on vacations. We did all kind of shit. Um, we had nice shit on Christmas. We always were taken care of. We always had food. Um, but when she wasn't on her shit, it was a whole different world. You know what I mean? It was a complete. It was like it's confusing for a child. You know what I'm saying? When it's like today is, I feel like we're the Brady Bunch, and then tomorrow, I don't know who the fuck we are, but we're definitely not them. Um, so it was just one of those kind of. It was one of those kind of lifestyles. She actually first got back into it when she fucked her back up, and they put her on pain medicine, and that kind of she tried to maintain her pain medicine for a while, but it took over. Um, and when I was younger, seeing her nod out on the couch or start to talk, but I don't understand what she's saying, and she's talking in her sleep and shit, and it was like I I felt bad for her when I was a child because I know she hurt herself, and I just kind of would laugh it off because I didn't understand. But as I got older, I understood better, and I'm like, this ain't right. This ain't how you should be living. Um, and then eventually it led her back to the streets, and she was homeless for a while. She was on street drugs, got back on heroin and crack and all that shit, and it was a completely different world at that point. Um, you know, she did a lot of wild shit, and so she was living that lifestyle. She was a thug. She was doing crazy shit. So it was like, okay, it's cool for us then. You know what I mean? If you can do it, so can we. Um, so that's kind of how it spiraled. But I never made the choice to drink because she was going through shit. I made the choice to drink because I was young. My friends were doing it. I had a bunch of older friends. They were doing it, and I wanted to do it because it looked like they were having a good time, and I wanted to have a good time too, like they were having a good time. Um, and so it never started because of that. But that's part of that rationalization that I'm talking about. It would be easy for me to blame my mother who was a drug addict or my father who was an alcoholic, but that's not why I did it. And if you're not honest with yourself, you're never going to have a strong program because you're going to lie to yourself and tell yourself, I can't help it. My parents were like this, I'm like this, I can't help it. You're lying to yourself. And you tell yourself, well, I'm doing it because I'm depressed, and you know what I mean? You're lying to yourself. You're tricking yourself into thinking that you need this when you really don't. You can learn how to work through your feelings and your emotions without drugs and alcohol, people. There's a lot of people out here who have worse lives than us, and they're doing it. So if they can do it, so can we. Like Tammy said, it's an excuse. You make excuses for living the lifestyle that you want to live. You know what I'm saying? Be like if you was being unfaithful and you knew you shouldn't be doing it, but you come up with an excuse. You know what I mean? No matter how small it is. He didn't take out the trash, or she came home too late. You know what I mean? Like we'll come up with any bullshit excuse for why we do the bad shit that we do, so we don't have to feel guilt. And then once you recover, you have to soak in and feel that guilt because now you're thinking clear and now you realize what you've done. And when you're being honest with yourself, which is one of the first steps in recovery, um, you have to tell yourself the truth that it was wrong for me to do these things and there was no excuse for the way I was acting and the way I carried myself. Um, and that's when you can get some strength in your program. And when your program starts to slip, it's probably because you're slacking on your work. You stopped working, you got comfortable, or you just got wrapped up in the monotony of life. Life can be monotonous sometimes, I understand. And you got pressed on autopilot, and next thing you know, you're having a breakdown and you're thinking about getting fucked up again and you don't understand why. Like I've been doing good all this time. Why is this happening to me? Well, because you probably started sleeping on your program. You probably stopped doing your work. And my grandfather used to tell me he was an alcoholic too. Um, and he used to tell me, man, it's an everyday thing. You got to get up in the morning and let yourself know, I don't need to drink today. Today's not the day for it. I got shit to do. And he would go out in the yard and work on his tractors and his lawnmowers and whatever the fuck he was doing that day, and he would keep himself busy all day. And it was something he enjoyed to do, so he was something he could make money at. So he found his niche. He found his niche in life where he can just you know do what he needs to do to stay sane and do what he needs to do to not drink. And he used to just tell me, he'd look himself in the mirror in the morning and say, I don't need it today. I know it sounds stupid, but he's old school. My grandfather's old school, and he was back in the day. It wasn't even meetings like that when he first got sober, and he was having them at his house. You know, my grandfather and my step grandfather, they were having meetings at his house. They were holding meetings at the house because they needed that fellowship. And I look at pioneers like that from back then, and I just have so much admiration for them. The fact that they got together when it wasn't laid out for them and there wasn't all this shit for them handed to them already waiting. There wasn't no programs already sitting there waiting for them, but they came together as a community and they started their own fucking programs. You know what I mean? They did their own thing to work together to stay clean and stay sober. That's work. That's putting time into your recovery. Just like what we got right now. It's a beautiful world right now. You can get online and connect with anybody on the face of the earth as long as they have internet. And we have so much access to so many people. I look at a video sometimes, even some of mine, and I'll see 1,000 views, 1,500 views, 700 views. So basically, we just had a 1,500 people meeting. When have you ever been to one like that? I ain't never even heard of a 1,500 person meeting in my life. But we have the access. We can do it. So ask yourself, like, there's so much out here for you. So anything that you're telling yourself on why you can't stay clean or why you can't stay sober, you're lying to yourself. You're deceiving yourself. It's that self-deceit that we talked about. It's that deception. You're not being honest. You're looking for a way out. And if you look hard enough for a way out, you're always going to find one. It's not that hard. You know what I mean? My car just got totaled, and I'm fighting with the insurance companies because it wasn't my fault. And, I'm sitting here with no car, and they're telling me they're not giving me shit. They're just going to pay the car off. And I'm sitting there like, I'm being wronged. And there was a point in time in my life where I would use that as an excuse. Like, oh, my car got totaled. Fuck it. What we doing today? Let's go get fucked up. Let's go party the pain away, right? I'm frustrated. But I know better now because I'm not sleeping on my recovery. I'm not sleeping on my program. I'm not letting myself slip because I've slipped too many times and I never know when it's going to be my last time. You know what I mean? Because I know my past. I know things I've done in my past. I know if I drink long enough, I end up with new charges, more enemies, less friends. So it's just, why do I want to live like that? I'm 30. I got 2 kids. Is the 2 hour buzz really that fun? That's what I started to tell myself later on. I'm like, the last couple times I drank a lot really fast. So my buzz only the fun time only lasts for 2 hours. After that, I'm fucking out. I'm blacked out. I'm trash. So it's like, really, all this hard work, piss down the toilet for what? For 2 hours of what? Sat there, listen to music, and talk shit. Wow, I can do that without alcohol. You know what I mean? It's really, the saying about how, when you grow up you put childish things away. It's one of them childish things for us. You know, not to judge people that don't have the problem, that can maintain and handle themselves, but we can't. And we got to stop deceiving ourselves and telling ourselves that one day we'll be able to handle it again, because it's fucking impossible. You'll never be able to have one drink. You'll never be able to pop one pill or whatever the fuck it is you do. You'll never be able to do it. So let go and move forward. Leave that shit behind you. Don't make excuses. Don't sleep on your program. Anybody watching, you're in a 60,000 member group. You have access to so many good people. But part of the game we play, what do a lot of people do in this group? I've seen it. Sometimes I see it more than I see the good. People, I'm leaving the group. Such and such said this and this. Are you really that thin skinned? You went through all this hell and addiction, and you gonna let one thing somebody said that didn't sit with you right push you away from your program? Come on now. You gotta toughen up. How many times have you been through way, way worse than just somebody saying something you didn't agree with? But it's part of that game we play. You're setting yourself up. You have reservations in your program, and you're skeptic about your own program, and you're using something somebody said as an excuse to push you further and further away. And out of 60,000 people, I guarantee you there's more good-hearted people than bad in this group. You know what I'm saying? You get what you look for. If you're looking for negativity, if you're looking for somebody to push you out, you'll get pushed out. Because you can find that shit anywhere in life. Yeah, it's nice, isn't it, Lindsay, when you can, go back to being, being a member of the group again without, feeling nervous. Or I've done it, because like I said, most of my friends, they was older than me, they all drank, but I was always the one that had the most problem. There was a couple old heads that, had a problem, but, um, most of the people that I hung with, they didn't really get fucked up like I got fucked up, man, so I was able to go back around them later on. And right before I left Maryland, my friend was, enjoying his day off, drinking a little bit. And I sat right there with him, play cards, we played spades. I didn't ask for the bottle, he didn't offer it to me. You know what I mean? And we had a good time, and we went our separate ways at the end. You know? And those are like nice wins. You walk away from that situation like, damn, man, I'm really doing good. I really got this shit lit because, not to get cocky, but it's just one of those small wins that boost your self-esteem and boost the positivity in your program and boost your ego a little bit to where you feel like, damn, I can really do this, and it just makes you work harder, makes you try even more to keep your program. Um, and it's just one of them things where it's just like, man, there was a point in time where I was trying to stay sober, and I could never do that. Every time I go hang around my friends, I'm getting fucked up. I'm not gonna make it. I already knew. Um, Yeah, Tammy, you lost everything, but you gave it away. Yep. And no matter how high up on the mountain you are, because even though I talked about my past a little bit in this video, um, you know, I set myself up pretty good. You know, when I was in high school, I had two vehicles. I had a bank account with a lot of money in it. You know, um, I had my shit together. I was headed to college, had everything lined up to go to school, and alcohol took all that shit away. Crashed up all my cars, ran out of money, quit school for no reason. Had good grades and everything. Just walked away. It was cutting into my party life. It was fucking up, me trying to be somebody else instead of doing what was right there for me that I worked so hard for and didn't even realize that that's what I really wanted. And then when I got older, I realized that's what I really wanted out of life. Yeah, Jade, you gotta have the right people around you, you know, like-minded individuals. My friend I was talking about earlier in this video, he always makes me feel like I'm doing good now, and that makes me feel good, And the people I got around me, we all on the same type of time. We're all trying to buy houses and settle down and watch our kids play and all that shit. You know, to me, that's what life's all about. Pass down a legacy. Don't pass down baggage. If you got kids, you want to leave them with a legacy. You want to set them up for success. As much as we respect people who overcome hardship, it doesn't mean people that don't overcome hardship aren't just as important in the world. And I feel like no parent that I know of that's a real parent wants their fucking child to go through hardship because of them. Life's hard enough as it is. Why are you going to add to it? You know what I'm saying? And then you got to relive that life twice. You got to live it through you. You got to live it through your child. You're increasing the risk that you're going to end up burying your child. No parent wants to do that. It's a lot of young people dying because of this shit, man. I'm telling you. I never thought, I never seen nothing like it. Like I've talked about before, when I was growing up, you drank and you smoked weed. That was it. Then later, not saying it's good or anything, but later on, there might be a car accident here or there and somebody gets paralyzed or loses their life because they were drinking, but it was rare. But the number of people that are ODing now in my community is alarming. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. That shit never happened. And if it did, it was a 1 in 100, you know? 1 in 1,000. Audrina, is that how you say your name? Gratitude's important. Gotta show gratitude. Lindsay, yes. Take accountability. I did a video on that the other day where I talked about accountability. Jade, yeah, quality, yeah, quality, not quantity. I used to be the opposite. I was trying to have as many people around me as I could. I want everybody to fuck with me. I want to be popular. That shit, man, you gonna set yourself up. My grandfather, something else he used to tell me. When you get my age, if you can count your friends on one hand, you're lucky. And it's so much truth. And I pretty much can. I don't have that many real friends, like people I would live and die for. You know what I mean? I got a handful. I got more than five, but That's because of kids, you know. And I just, I feel like sometimes we lose sight and we look back in the past, and the trauma that we put ourselves through doesn't seem as bad anymore. So that's another way you can get caught up, because you can't remember how much you were scared, or how much you were nervous, or how much you were paranoid. All those emotions you don't have tied really to those events anymore. So it's more so where it's just like, man, that was kind of wild. That was kind of fun, but you forget. We forget, and that's something else that'll catch you up. I got caught up like that probably like 6, 7 months ago. I was rolling, had coming up on my 2 years, and I fucked up, you know, and I was like, nobody's home. My wife and my daughter, they went to go see family for the weekend, and I was like, all right, I can do this. I can get away with it. Snowing outside, I can go sit and watch the snow, listen to music, just chill and release. It's bullshit. I didn't release anything. I just woke up feeling like a fucking loser. And it's just like, after that, I was like, man, fuck this. You know, it's not optional anymore, and that's what you got to do with yourself. You got to make it not an option. It's not even an option. That's something else my cousin used to tell me all the time, and I just cuss him out, call him a bitch. He'd be like, man, drinking's not an option for you. And he wouldn't hang out with me if I was drinking. He didn't even want to be around me. He was like, if you're around me, I'm not. If you want to drink, go ahead, but I'm not going to be around you. And instead of me looking at myself, I just call him a bitch. You know what I mean? Call him a punk. But it was me who was being a punk. That's why he didn't want to hang out with me. Because I was a different person when I would drink. So it's like, and that's part of it, I was lying to myself back then. But now I know better. So we all just need to make sure that in our program we're being honest. We all need to make sure that we're working hard on our program every day, not just when it's convenient for us. Um, we also need to make sure that we're stopping and smelling the roses. Show your gratitude. Share it. You're in this group, right? I bet you won't get no negative comments or negative feedback if you just get in the group and say, my gratitude list for today. And you type it in and click comment. There you go. Post. And you'll start a domino effect. I bet you other people will get in there and share theirs. And now everybody's done a gratitude list for today. So everybody's been made self-aware that, hey, this life is better. You know what I mean? Use your influence for the right things. Instead of influencing people to break the law with you and do stupid shit and piss their life away, influence people to save their own lives and be happy with their new lives. Because a lot of us, I see a lot of people that get clean and sober, they're miserable. Like, yeah, you're miserable because you're not doing gratitude lists. You're not striving towards anything. You're just all about being clean and sober. But it's more to life. And those things that you strive for will help you stay clean and sober, because you know you can't achieve these things if you get fucked up. That's part of it for me. Like, I work out a lot. I know alcohol is like the worst thing if you go to the gym. It's the worst thing. So it doesn't go with my lifestyle anymore. You know what I mean? I got to be a father and play with my daughter. I can't play with my daughter if I can't fucking stand up. I can't play with my daughter if I'm not there mentally. I need to be a good husband. I can't be a good husband if I'm staying out and not coming home for a day. I got to be a good role model for my brother and my nephews and my goddaughters and my daughters. I can't be a good role model if I'm not living a good life. So all those things keep my program strong. All those things make me come in here and do these videos because, like I tell you guys, As much as y'all might appreciate me, I appreciate y'all tenfold because um, it helps me just as much as it helps you, if not more. Because and this is what I talked about before. I think I just talked about it yesterday about spreading your message because it makes you hold yourself at a higher standard, and it makes you hold yourself more accountable because you're like, okay, now crossed over. I've crossed over to being a spokesperson for recovery. I've crossed over into being a mentor. I've crossed over into being someone who guides others. I crossed over into being a leader. So when you cross over into those titles, you have to live up to them fucking titles. And when you put your phone down and you're done your video and you walk away, you're gonna be like, man, I can't fuck up. These people, they look up to me, and if I fall, what's that gonna tell them? If they look at me and say, this guy seems to have his shit together, and then they don't see me for a long time and I'm all fucked up, and then I come on and do the relapse video like I did 6, 7 months ago or however long it's been, they're gonna be like, damn, I'm a goner. So just, think about it. Try to share your message when you build the courage and hold yourself more accountable. Good for you, Lindsay. Yeah, the community's important. The community's really important. And like I said, we have an advantage that we need to be appreciative of. Put that on your gratitude list. I'm grateful that I can communicate with 60,000 people. There's a lot of towns that don't even have close to 60,000 people in it. So I know you ain't never been to a 60,000 person meeting. Most of the meetings I went to, it might be 10 people there. At an AA meeting, if I went to an NA meeting, it might, it's a little more. But 20 max. A lot of my videos get up to like 700 views. So we're having 700 people meetings. The message is hitting 700 people versus the 10 at the meeting in town. Not saying they're not important, because they absolutely are. I'm saying that we have a benefit that our forefathers and the people in the past who struggled with this didn't have. So we need to take full advantage and make our community strong. Like Jade said, quality not quantity. Let's all try to be quality people in this group. Be positive, spread good message. Don't sugarcoat, but make sure you're putting forth a good message. And if you believe in something you're saying, explain why you believe it. Because sometimes I say some shit that's not, it doesn't go over very well sometimes, but I have a reason for why. And I never just say shit without explaining myself. And I never say shit without saying I'm open to conflicting opinions, but just watch your words. And if you want to go there, just hit me in my inbox and we can hash it out. We can work it out. You know what I mean? And we all have different views. We all have different experiences. We all have different reasons why we think a certain kind of way. So nobody's message is going to be the same. Nobody's opinion is going to be the same on everything. But we can come to an understanding. And I feel like that's where a lot of us fall short, is we don't understand. We don't have understanding. We struggle with, you know, being more understanding of other people. And I think maybe because people weren't so understanding about us. You know what I mean? So it made us like that in return. But now that we're sober and we're clean and we're living a good life, we don't have to be that way. We can be understanding. We can agree to disagree and move on. I say X, Y, and Z, and somebody gets on and says, no, it's A, B, and C, and this is why I think it's A, B, and C. I can say, okay, I see what you're saying, but this is why I feel this way, and that's that. You're entitled to your opinion. Or they might change my mind, and I might backtrack and backpedal on what I said and say, hey, you're right. I didn't think about it like that. We're all adults. Let's carry ourselves like adults. Let's be mindful. And don't be afraid to, spread your message. I see a lot of people do their first video, or I've never seen them before, and they'll do a video and they'll get on there and just kind of shoot the shit for a little while. And I'll watch and see, like, okay, where's this going? And then they just start pouring. They just start pouring out this message, and I'm like, damn, I'm glad I stuck around. And it's because they were probably nervous. They were working through the bugs. They were like building up the courage to actually spread their message. So don't be afraid to play your role. You never know what holding back your message could, if you just let it out, you might help 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe even just one. If you just help one person, you did something. And Lindsay, I'm glad to see you speak at rehabs and detox centers. It takes a lot more courage to do that than it does for me to do this. Standing in front of like real people is a different thing. I have to speak at our event in the beginning of August, and I'm nervous as fuck. I'm like, I do these videos all the time with no problem, but I'm like really kind of sketched out about speaking in front of people. Um, and it's because, like I talked about the other day, I'm a reserved person. It took me a lot to even do this. Like, I just started doing these videos, I think, earlier in the year, last year. It's only been about maybe a year since I've been doing this, or it'll be a year. Um, I think in October. I'm not sure, but I haven't been doing this shit long, and it's because I'm not. I got that social anxiety thing. I don't really. I'm not a people I am a people person, but I'm more of a one-on-one people person. Like I deal better with a small group than I do a big crowd, and I never like to be a center of attention. But you got to get over that. If you want to help people, you got to just take a deep breath and let it go. You can always delete your video if you want. So just keep that in mind. Or you can plan it out. If you're afraid to freestyle your video, you can write your shit. Write out notes. Or just talk about your story. Maybe just your story will help somebody. They'll see, like, hey, I'm not alone. I went through similar shit as this person. And you'll find that you'll see the normality in your past. My past was pretty normal. Didn't make it right, but it was pretty normal. So I can overcome it. If they overcame it, so can I. So just think about it. Really think about it. All right, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and end this so I can get in this gym. You were scared. You like being face to face. Yeah, it is cool. To be able to maybe shake their hand or talk to them afterwards on a fun level. I guess I'm looking forward to it, but I'm just kind of nervous at the same time. But I am looking forward to it either way. We have these events, and I kind of just hide. Um, so like Kim says, it helps her to hear other people's stories, right? Lets you know you're not alone. I was in rehab with this guy. After I'm gonna share this, and then I'm gonna get off. I was in rehab with this guy. It was this older cat, and he was kind of swole, but he looked like Burt Reynolds. I used to always tease him and call him Burt Reynolds. But me and him used to work out together in rehab, and I was kind of talking to him and getting his story. And he owned his own construction business, and he had money, man. Like, he had it all. He had it all. He had his own business, his own construction company. He was balling, legally, doing good for himself. Worked hard, bust his ass, and he used to have parties every year with his crew. He'd invite them over, and they'd have big parties and shit. And one day, I think he was like in his 40s, right? Crazy, crazy. This was like one of the wildest things I've ever heard. But he was in his 40s, and he was having one of his annual parties, and he went into the shed and he said that some of his employees or coworkers or whoever were in there smoking crack, and they asked him to try it, and I guess he just said fuck it. and he became a crackhead and lost a lot of his lost all that shit he worked for. He lost a lot of that shit, and it would just blew me away to like hear somebody like that. You know what I mean? Like where I come from, like most of the stories I know, we all just grew up like that. It's just the way it is. But to see somebody like that, that's why I tell people too when we fight amongst ourselves, like, you know, this is a white drug, this is a black drug. Nobody cared when it was like this. Nobody cared when it was like that. It's only for poor people. No, man. Drugs and alcohol fuck up lives all across the pay scale, all across the class scale, all across the race scale. It fucks everyone up. And the reason why it's it's gaining more attention now is not because of what class or race or any of that. It's because of the amount of people that are ODing and losing their fucking life over this shit. That's why it's getting more attention. That's why people are trying to do something about it, because people are burying their fucking children over this shit. It has nothing to do with class, creed, or color. It's gaining big attention because people are fucking losing their lives at an alarming rate. It's not just the I had that one friend in high school who overdosed. Nah, man, that shit's like multiple people in a day. You know? Like I talked about before, like when I was in school, I only knew maybe one or two people that happened to. Now it's fucking up people every day. So that's why. Anybody that wants to know, that's why. If you want to answer why, that's why. Because it's becoming life or death. It's not becoming, well, their quality of life just sucks, so that's none of our business. No, they have no quality of life because they're fucking dying. It's not just about their quality of life anymore. It's about saving their fucking life because they're losing it. Young people. So that's why, for anybody that wants to know. I know we all know. We're all in this group. So I know we understand it, but a lot of people on the outside looking in, they don't get it. So that's why. So I hope y'all have a great day. Show your gratitude, do your work, and stay clean and stay sober.